Evagrius Ponticus outlined the 7 vices which could lead to the damnation of the mortal soul, but more importantly, they could lead to you being a bad saxophonist. Let's talk about these
7 deadly sins of saxophone.
I need to go practice. Hi, and welcome to the Saxophone Academy. I'm Dr. Wally Wallace, and if you're interested in saxophone masterclasses and product reviews, please do subscribe and be sure to hit the like button, or your saxophonic soul could be relegated to Dante's 7th level of poor technique. Maybe. Now today we're talking about these 7 deadly saxophone sins, things that in your saxophone practice, all music practice really, but saxophone sins has a nice alliteration, so I went with it. Things you should avoid doing to make sure you're reaching saxophonic excellence. Now, we've all been guilty of these sins at times, but fear not. Walk towards the light with me, brother, and I'll set you straight. Lust. Get your mind out of the gutter. We're talking about lusting after gear, the constant search for that next piece of equipment that will magically fix your playing, whether it's that voluptuous 5-digit serial number on a Mark VI, or a gold-plated aftermarket neck, or the velvety inside of that perfect case. No, it's the search for gear that is a form of procrastination. Now, procrastination in and of itself is not a deadly sin, I've been assured by the Cardinal, otherwise I'd be in big trouble. But it does lead to a lack of productivity and poor saxophone playing. This has been a problem for me throughout the years, and interestingly, more recently, I've been working with Windy City Woodwinds on developing a new mouthpiece, more to come very soon, and getting boxes of prototypes has been one of the most fun things I've ever gotten to do as a saxophonist, equipment-wise. It's also killed my productivity. Playing a lot, testing different mouthpieces, or any other equipment you might be testing is fun. It feels like we're improving ourselves, but we're really not. It's a means of procrastination to be sure. Now, don't get me wrong. Messing with equipment and buying new gear and collecting mouthpieces, the right mouthpieces, certainly is all part of this super fun hobby. But at the same time, we have to be careful we're not using it as an excuse for not making forward progress. New gear is not the same as practice. We need more practice. So maybe make a goal. X number of hours practice, treat yourself to some fancy new gear. Number 2, gluttony. Now we're not talking about binging on coffee and Cheetos. Obviously, that's fine. But the gluttony of binging on too many pedagogical materials. Let me explain. Sometimes I'll meet an adult student and I'll ask what they've been working on, and they'll show me a stack of 50 different method books, download after download of PDFs. They're subscribed to 5 different online studios. They buy digital courses. It's just too much. And when they tell me this, I can always predict how they're going to play. Scattered and rather poorly. The problem is not that they don't have enough material, it's that they're not working on the material that they have. It's the gluttony of wanting to accumulate more materials, but never diving in. Really, you only need to work on 3 things: your sound, your technique, and your artistry. And honestly, there's a million different ways to go about learning those 3 things, and that's kind of the problem. But honestly, there's a ton of great ways that work. I mean, obviously I like my way the best, but if you stick with any curriculum long enough and you stay focused and do it, so many systems and methodologies will work as long as you stay on the path. It's the gorging on books and etudes and methods and play-alongs and PDFs and digital courses that keep us from doing the focused work on a curriculum that works. So I really recommend you pick a system or a teacher or a curriculum that resonates with you, that you really like, and you can give it a good go for at least a couple months, maybe a year, to see is it panning out for you before you start jumping onto new PDFs and new methods. Your playing will thank me, and so will your bank account. Sloth. Go practice after you're done watching this video. Wrath. I don't mean towards other people, I mean towards yourself. Bring it in. All right, here's the deal. You constantly berating and beating up yourself and self-deprecating humor and always talking down and thinking down about yourself, it's not making you a better player. It's not making other people like you more. Just slowing your progress. It's a defense mechanism. We've all been guilty about it. But I want you to stop it. I want you to love you. Take pride in how much work you put in. Take pride in how much you love playing. Take pride in how you treat other saxophonists. But don't worry about where you are in your journey. Be kind to yourself, and you'll make more progress and have more fun. And whenever you find yourself feeling frustrated that you're not where you want to be, stop beating yourself up and realize that frustration means you're about to have a breakthrough. Don't get mad, get curious. Find out, what are you about to learn? And I will say, young professional musicians are the worst at this. When I look online or talk to my young professional musician friends, they beat themselves up constantly. They're so tough on themselves, and I always tell them, maybe the best advice I've ever given is, don't beat yourself up. The job market will do that for you. Envy, the green monster. Covet thy neighbor's record collection, not their playing. Comparing yourself to others is the surest-fire way to have a miserable time learning the saxophone. Comparison, as they say, is the thief of joy. I will add that, left unchecked, it's also the assassin of progress. I just made that up about 20 minutes ago. You can thank me. And what I mean by that is, when we get envious to the point that we can't stand that the other person is making more progress or better than us, we quit trying to get better, and if we're not doing the right thing, we can start to snipe and take shots at the other playing, trying to diminish in our own minds, we're not fooling anyone else, how good they are. And that doesn't make us any better. So instead of dwelling in envy, let's get curious. Whenever you find someone playing something that you wish you could do, instead of getting mad and criticizing what they can't do, get curious. Ask. When I was a graduate student, there was a 19-year-old whiz kid that played circles around everybody. A lot of people took pot shots at him and just didn't want to hang out with him. He was a nice kid, so I just basically swallowed my pride and asked him, how'd you do that? We became friends, and I got to know him better, and sure enough, I'm a better player because of it. If someone's better than you taking pot shots isn't fooling anyone. Get curious, find out what led to them being so good, and learn from them. You can destroy them later. No, I'm just kidding. Just learn. Maybe. Pride, perhaps the deadliest of all saxophone sins. All right, grab a drink and pull up a chair. It's story time. Many, many years ago, before Dr. Wally was Dr. Wally, I was just Wally, I suppose. I was a classical saxophonist. For many, many years and much of my career, I was a classical saxophonist. Didn't play jazz, not out of a lack of interest, I just wasn't good at it. I was winning competitions and getting pats on the head from my professors, so I kept going down the classical path because my ego loved it. I was quite prideful towards my classical playing. And then, I don't remember when exactly, but I saw the movie Bird, the story of Charlie Parker. And in it, Charles McPherson plays the alto saxophone. He plays the music of Charlie Parker throughout. And it really moved me, the spontaneity, the energy, the passion behind that music. And something funny happened. The next morning, I was in the shower and I was thinking about it, and those incredible melodies, that energy was in my head, and I started crying. Make fun if you want, but I'm just being honest. I literally cried in the shower because I had spent my career pursuing something that didn't give me that feeling that I was looking for. And so I tried learning jazz, but my ego, my pride got in the way. I was bad at it, so I quit doing it. I went back to my comfort zone, and what got me praises and pats on the head, I went back to classical. Fast forward about a decade later, and I was tired of that, and I just really thought, I'm getting older. If I want to learn to play jazz and have that spontaneity and that freedom in my playing and dive into that genre I love, I've really got to learn it. So I asked my mentor, just give it to me straight. What do I have to do? And he said, you've got to quit playing with your eyes. You've got to start using your ears. You've got to get a jazz combo together, put a set together, and go play in public. Now, as you can imagine, as a classically trained musician, when you first start doing that, you fail. You fail miserably. You fail badly. You fail publicly. And you fail it with other good musicians knowing that you failed. There's nothing quite like playing with really good rhythm section with an audience in front of you and getting lost in chord changes. That's a fear that I hope most of you do find out, because that's how growth happens. I will say anecdotally, I know a number of other classical saxophonists that really want to learn jazz, or they say they want to learn jazz, but it's rare that a classical saxophonist ever becomes proficient at jazz. I'm not saying it never happens. There are some really good crossover musicians, but I think the prime reason most classical saxophonists really fail is they're afraid of failure. They're not willing to put their ego aside, put their pride aside, and really just stink at it for a while. Have some embarrassing moments. But we have to fail. That's how we learn. So having put my pride aside for a while and just learning to fail and get better and get my lumps, and I hope I'm getting better every year, I'm honestly having the time of my life. My quintet just played the Eastern Music Festival, Chamber Crawl, one of the most fun gigs I've ever played. We just spent a week in the recording studio with a film crew. I'm having more fun than I ever have, and I'm really grateful that I finally got over my pride and allowed myself to fail. And I wish the same for you. In the words of Marsalis Wallace, fudge pride. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. So, put your pride aside, you might actually have some fun. So what are your most hated saxophone sins? What are the things that keep you from making progress? How can I help fix it? I'll be happy to help if I can, or at least make fun of you if I can't. Nah, I'll try to help. Maybe. So, I'll be back next week with some pedagogical materials. We're going to get you practicing again. In the meantime, I hope you're having a wonderful summer. If you're watching this months later in the winter, I hope you're having a good whatever season you're in. And most importantly, go practice. You sloth.